Hi everyone, welcome to our live session at the Norway. We're back here on a Friday evening, and yes, we are going to be tonight coming to you with a very interesting, a very philosophical, a very profoundly deep subject. I think it is like literally like the philosophy of the world. All the greatest thinkers of the world, the philosophers, the great authors, poets, have since the beginning of time questioned this, talked about it, dwelled into it, from the great Socrates to Plato to Rumi to Marcus Aurelius, and who not, Confucius. Every one of them have questioned what is happiness. So today, that's what we will be talking to you about. That's what we will be talking to each other about. I'm sure every individual in her or his life has questioned it and is in the quest of it, wants to find the meaning of it. So let's talk about it. What is happiness? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to us? And how are we looking for it in our lives? So, Mita, what is happiness to you?
Happiness for me is more like a state of mind. It's like always been a state of mind for me because I've loved happiness that this question that always was striking and intriguing to me, that what happiness is. Then it's all about the behavior. It's all about the behavioral change and mindset, that if we change the way we behave and change our mindset, we'll be happy. So it's just a destination, it's not a place. So happiness is just a state of mind for me. So this is what happiness is for me. And speaking of happiness, making doing things for other people really makes me happy. So the more we do things for other people, it just really gives us a boost to be the best, or to be our best selves. So happiness is just for me is helping others and to be able to serve someone. So this is what happiness is to me. So Dr. Hafsa, what is happiness to you?
Well, for the longest time, happiness to me was what Franklin Roosevelt said. He said that happiness lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort. And that is what happiness has been for me all my life, creating things, doing some art, making some projects, working on something creative, having a little hustle here and there. So that was or achieving things. That was happiness to me. And that's what defined most of my life. By and large, as I understood people, as I grew more, as I developed more, I understood that there's a deeper meaning to it. And now happiness means is very synonymous to love for me. It's showing unconditional love, being a home for everyone, being empathetic, and always trying, or at least struggling constantly to to constantly be kind to others. I feel like whenever I can achieve a sense of kindness or some sense of being a home to somebody, that really makes me happy. Someone said that they can be themselves in with me. Anybody finds me a little easy to talk to. I feel like I did my bit, and that really makes me happy. What about you, Dr. Sana? What makes you happy? What's happiness to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, something that both of you resonate in is that, happiness is serving others, right? And I absolutely agree to that. I think, there's no greater joy than bringing joy and help and love to others. Yes, that is happiness to me as well. But happiness, so this is something that, like I said in the beginning, this is like the quest of life. This is that big question in life, like what is happiness, and how do you define it, and is it like a goal, is it like something that you can achieve, and this is the question, and this is what I have been thinking and philosophizing over, and struggling with. And I mean, to me, I think happiness, like Misha said, is a state of mind, right? And happiness, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is a path in itself. So, to me, happiness is not something that you. That there, somebody very wise said that there's no such thing as pursuit of happiness. Happiness is a journey. So as life progresses, you find that you can find happiness even in the small things of life, in the little things, in the little meaningless things. So like you were saying, in the connections. And for me, I think happiness for me is in human connection. I really, really feel and believe that there is great joy in human connection, and happiness is in human connection, helping people and loving people. Happiness is also in loving yourself. I think unless you
Yeah.
love yourself and you come to understand yourself and respect yourself, there's no way you'll ever be able to do that for somebody else. And happiness is very closely, I think, linked to that, to finding yourself. And yes, it's not a goal that you can achieve. It's a pursuit. It's a journey. We're all on that journey.
And
That's
I would like to add something that it's not ready made. Everyone has their own definition of happiness. So, happiness for you is different. Happiness for you, Dr. Hafsa, is different. Happiness for Dr. Sana is different. For me, is different. So, everybody has their own definition of friendship.
yep.
So, this is what it is.
We're so different as individuals, so unique rather, that to each our own happiness is going to be different. And I think it's the variation in the happiness that brings about general happiness in the world. I mean, imagine if we were all similar, we all had our way of, showing happiness, achieving it. Uh, we'd be very uniform. I like the little variations when you see something unique in somebody that really makes you happy. That's what that just lights up the world.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a gift that the universe has created for each one of us. That we have our own individual, you know, we're our own individual beings. And but yes, I mean, this is such a deeply profound topic. I mean, all of us are in quest of happiness, and so many books have been written, and they're like so much talk, and you find that for sure. I think we agree that happiness is not in material gain, right? And like Misha said, that there is no prescriptive like checklist that you can just tick, right? And one thing I want to talk about is that the way we are conditioned and the way we're raised, and I don't think that's essentially the East. I think even in West, that's very much so. That when you're raised, you're kind of told that if you get this, if you get good grade, and if you get this good college, and if you're popular, or if you manage to make X amounts of money, if you have X amount of money in the bank, if you have a house,
Exactly.
married, if you have children, you're going to be happy. But
I mean, people
as
define your happiness for you.
happiness is not
Yes.
something that you define and prescribes to you, but it is. It is. That's how the world works. It's
Yes.
like a prescription that just gets handed to you, and when you're young, you think about it like that, right? And that's when the whole prospect and the concept of journey comes in. That when you get onto this journey of life, and once you start doing the ticks, and you realize that it's not making me happy, that's not where happiness
Because
is.
it ends up wanting, because it, yes, yes, and because it ends up, because when we achieve that goal, we want something more. So it's like feeding our souls, like, oh, we have achieved this, now we're going to achieve that, so we'll be happy, but we are always asking for more. We are never fulfilled.
Yes.
So yeah, so
Fulfill,
if we attach
fulfillment.
something to our happy, yeah, yeah,
So I
fulfillment.
think
So that's,
happiness is
if
very
we take,
is very equal to fulfillment actually. Fulfillment. What is fulfillment?
yeah.
Like guys, what is it? Because fulfillment is definitely not in in the material realm of the world. What is fulfillment?
Hmm.
I think it's like you said, it gets handed to us. There are stages to a human's life. We start off by pleasing our parents. We try doing things for them. Even as a little baby, we're trying to get their attention. We're doing little things, and there's a constant. There's a huge, long phase in life where we continue doing that. We seek their
Yes.
approval in certain things, even
Yeah.
in our happiness. We
Yes.
seek that. So that's where our happiness lies. Then we grow out of it.
Hmm.
We start looking for it in our friends. Some
Yes.
people want to have to impress their circle, seek their approval, And their happiness is in, somebody, one friend coming up and telling them, oh, you're looking nice today, or you're wearing something nice today, or that's a nice thing you've bought here. So you grow out of that, and then comes you yourself. Suddenly your achievements start making you happy. You seek your own approval first, and then you
Yeah.
progress to life where you realize that I've achieved enough. What do I need to do now? Like,
Now. Yeah.
that's when you start questioning that, okay, so here is my pursuit of happiness, and I've achieved it, so reached so many destinations.
Yeah.
Now what? And that's where a person is so confused, and that's when the real journey begins. You seek deeper inside. You were looking for it outside and everything else, and then you now start your journey inside. And that's a very beautiful part of your life,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I think that is so beautiful. And the part that where you said that, you do all that and you achieve all that, and then you come to a place in your life where you just look at everything you've got and you go like, now and what next? Because I'm still not happy, I'm not fulfilled. And that's what the existential crisis is all about. And I think a lot of people, when they get stuck at that place in their life, turn inwards, and then they start seeking the meaning, that what is it. And then you find so many people going off, to gurus and coaches, and like, studying into different doctrines and different philosophies. But yes, it's we as human beings, like, our pursuit for achievements and for acquisitions is insatiable. Like, so, guys, listen. We when we're at the topic of happiness, and such a again, it's such a open ended and such a profoundly, like, such a deep topic. I mean, we could go on talking about it. But we read this book, right? And we've been talking about this book that we really loved. And what I loved about this book is that it's not one of those books which is like, very comprehensively written and it's long drawn out. It was literally like a small, compact kind of a sort of prescription, right? Things to do
Exactly.
will make you happy. And when we read it, it really hit us hard, because we thought that yes, actually, that's pretty cool. He's right? So this is a book that is written by Mr. Mark Leonard, right? And it's
Yeah.
called the 20 High Performance Habits to Find Your Freedom. So freedom. Now
Yes,
tell me,
it's a happiness breakthrough. Basically, it's a happiness breakthrough.
happiness.
So
But
this book is
tell
about,
me, like, how does freedom make you happy?
I'm gonna.
freedom is
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, freedom is all about like having wings. Like you are a bird, and the sky is all yours,
Yeah,
and you are going to fly as high as you can. So
yeah,
that's freedom for me, and that's
yeah,
what happiness is to me. It's
yeah,
to give and receive without any expectations.
yeah.
So this is what freedom to me is. Yes,
Yeah,
Dr.
The
that's
Rose.
beautiful.
So
liberation
you
of
were saying.
expectation. I think Michelle, you put it so beautifully. The liberation of expectation, not
Yeah,
having to conform to expectation, is very liberating as it is. For me, I think freedom means independence, and independence brings in a lot of happiness. I remember the first time I started making money for myself. Now, I'm
yeah,
not saying in a very superficial way, I was trying to chase the goal or something, but the fact that I could do something for myself and get something out of it, that I didn't have to depend on somebody for it. And suddenly I could create my own, I could rely on myself for sustaining me in some way. That was a very liberating thought and a very liberating experience. So, any form of independence that you receive, I feel that is freedom, and it brings in a lot of happiness to me. What about
yeah.
you, Dr. Sana? What about you?
So, it's interesting because, in his title is 20 High Performance Habits to Find Your Freedom. And he then takes you onto the concept of how it makes you happy. And, I really, really, recently, for some time, have come to that realization that actually freedom is one of the things that does lead to happiness. And like you said, for you, it was, like one example you gave. Obviously, it's not entirely so. It was financial freedom. But for me, when I think about liberation as an individual, and I think freedom and liberation for individuals comes when they break through the conformities and the boundaries and the mandates of the society that they're brought up and conditioned around, which actually suppress them and which keep them from finding themselves and which inhibit them from expressing themselves truly. So when you realize and when you set upon the realization that my life, my existence is not going to be about pleasing other people and conforming to other people's defined boundaries. My life is going to be about defining my own boundaries and pleasing my own self and looking inwards and really finding out what will make me happy. So for me, that is freedom. So you can say it's like a spiritual kind of freedom for me.
The
That's what.
the self acknowledgement of realizing that you're living for expectations of others instead of yourself, and then trying to seek that. That's
Absolutely, and I think that is
amazing.
when you
Nice.
find yourself, and that's where self realization and self actualization comes in because you look at yourself, right? You like we've been
Mm.
conditioned to look at ourselves according to others' parameters, definitions, what's good, what's bad. But once you come to the point where you go like, no, actually, this is good for me and this is bad for me, that is true liberation. That is true freedom.
Living your own
and
truth.
and
Yes.
yeah, yes,
Yes,
exactly,
Misha,
exactly.
what
The
do you
you
say?
have beautifully described it. Like, no, I was just adding to your point, but you have just explained it beautifully. So let's just proceed with the
Thank
other
you.
thing.
So, coming back to this book, right? This is something that we wanted to share here. When we thought about talking about happiness, we thought that this was so relevant because there's some really amazing sort of bullet points that the author has come up with, Dr. Mark Leonard. And he talks about, first of all, he quotes Walt Disney and he says, he quotes that all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them, right? So again, like if what I was saying that like the way we're conditioned is that we're not even like sort of when we're in our younger ages, and we're not even like conditioned and told to chase our own dreams. Dreams are kind of handed to us, either by the society or our parents or whatever, like our external environment. So I guess from here he means that dream for yourself, like understand what you want in life, and then go after it. But there are some really amazing things that he's brought up, which I'm just going to quickly go through. So there are 20 things. I'm going to quickly go through them, and then we will be picking up a few of them which we thought were really like really important. So he talks about sleep, eat healthy, morning routine, daily reset, exercise, clarity, visualize, change your internal dialogue, focus on gratitude, celebrate wins, show up, seek to serve, which is what you guys were talking about, ask for support, be consistent, limit social media, something again we have talked about also. Use technology to support your goals, plan your day, plan your month, take breaks, focus on personal development. So these are the 20 habits, high performing habits that he's written about. And what's cool is that like we have actually in our previous sessions and in our blogs talked about quite a few of them. So we've talked about how you need to kind of detox and keep away from the digital world. We've talked about that. We've talked
Yes.
about consistency. We've talked about morning routine, the article that Hafsa wrote, digital detox that Misha wrote. So yeah, and then we had that article by Jeff Heggie on mindset, and he talked about how you need to plan your day, your month. So yeah, a lot of things we already brought up, and so the things that we do want to talk about, Misha,
We have already covered.
what is
Yeah.
that struck you in this, strongly? What is it that you are doing? What you're doing, but like you tell us about it out of this, like that.
The two things, there are there's so many things that I've been doing it, and there's like certain things that I struggle. So let me highlight the two things that I am very good at is like my morning routine and my consistency towards anything. If I just set my target that I want to be consistent in that thing, that I can assure, like I can assure myself, I can make a promise to myself that whatever happens, either it is a good day or a bad day, either I'm tired or not getting out of the bed, I am consistent and I'm going to nail that. So these
Yeah.
are the two things that I'm really good at, and these morning routines and this consistency in my daily routine, in my daily life, of any of the habit that I need to develop. So
Yeah.
because I've read that book on the 5 a.m. club by Robin Sharma, so it's about, it
Yeah.
takes 66 days to develop a habit.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and I was like amazed that, and I actually did that, that when I'm consistent at something, for example, writing a journal, and writing a journal, I mean, writing this journal, and it's 263 day of the year, 266 third day of the year, because I've been journaling every day. So I just number each day, so it's the 263rd day. So now I'm going to do that, and that made me goosebumps that now, oh, we are already into 263rd day of this year, and this year is all about 365 days. So this year is
Yeah.
going to end. So
Yes.
this gave me really a goosebump and made me really happy that this year is going to end. The way it started, it all gave us a stop, but then 2020 is all about balance
Yeah.
and developing something of your own and building up your own skill. So these are the two things that I'm really good at: morning routine and consistency. And coming to the point where I really struggle, now let's be
Yeah.
vulnerable over here, that
Yes.
why like which point I really struggle at. So that point is clarity. So
Yeah.
in this book, he mentioned, like, constantly ask question like who you are, what are your dark sides, and what are the shadows of yours that you really need to be aware of yourself in order to mindfully assess and do a dialogue with yourself,
Yep.
in order to find that clarity that, oh, okay, that this is the moment that I am having difficulty in, then how I'm going to get out of that moment, in order
Yeah.
to just get clarity. And then, like, what makes me really sad, what makes me really happy, things that emotional intelligence is all about that clarity. So this I really struggle at, and I'm doing that hard thing. So what Jeff said, and the question really showed up in the comments, that one of our friend asked that, is it possible, I'm going to show it on the screen, is it humanly possible to have, sorry, no, not this question, that can you be in a state of happiness? So
Constant
constant
state of.
state of, yes, we can if we have that clarity. But we cannot be in that constant state of happiness. We need to practice some depression, some kind of sadness. So because if we are in constant state of that thing, so it will be not be that thing that gave us something really a gig, or like bliss,
We lose
that
the
if we
appreciation
continuously
for it.
practice happiness, we will lose its essence. Yes, we lose the
Yeah.
essence and appreciation of it. So that's why we need to practice all the emotions to keep a balance. So this is what my
Okay.
things
I think
are.
that was, by the
Now
way, that was a
coming to
great
Dr.
question.
Sana.
To be in a constant state of happiness, right? I think that's such a cool question. No, I want Hafza to go at it first. Hafza, can you be in a constant state of happiness?
I don't think anyone can be in a constant state of happiness. If you're in a constant state, it'll be a very neutral state for you. You won't know your highs, you won't know your lows. They have to be lows for you to identify highs in life, you know. So
Yeah.
in order for happiness to happen, you see this yin yang symbol here? It
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
goes together. It all
Yes.
goes together. There has to be light for you to see some dark. There has to be dark for you to see some light. So there has to be a balance to that, and to be able to appreciate happiness, to truly feel happy, there have to be moments of pain. There have to be moments of despair. The journey
Absolutely.
we spoke about, it often occurs with a bit of pain. It starts off with a bit of pain and self-questioning. I mean, it is self-critical, low days for us to understand the importance of the high and what it really means to us to be truly happy. As for
Absolutely.
the book that you're talking about, well, Misha mentioned clarity. Clarity is something that I feel like the book really validated a lot of things that I am already doing, and
Mm.
it also helped me identify certain crucial struggles that I have day to day. Like Michelle discussed that as well.
Yeah.
Um, I have inspired from Misha, or kind of hard grinded into my own conscience, the habit of waking up early and developing a morning routine. And I
Yeah.
journal to get some clarity for my day, for my life, to a bit understand myself, even when and I feel like you have to have that sense of self awareness, because we're all capable of being angelic to each other, and we're all capable of being a little toxic to each other. So self-awareness, clarity really helps us identify how we are performing. So I feel like, to me, that was one of the things that really resonated there. Apart from that, celebrating wins is something I feel like I've been consistently doing all my life. It's
Yeah.
something that was passed down to me as part of a family tradition. We always celebrate little wins, whether it's somebody's report card coming in really nice, somebody achieving something really small. There's small little things, but hanging out together, going for
Yeah.
dinner, to make a little celebration out of the small achievements.
Yeah.
Somebody won a debate, and we just want to celebrate that. I feel like that is something very innate to me, and it's something that I've done, and something that's been part of my family as well. So that, as for my struggle, and my struggle is something that I take inspiration from a lot of things that you tell me as well. That is changing my internal dialogue. I feel
Yeah.
like I can at times be very self-critical, or very outwardly critical as well. I mean, I feel like I'm the Simon in amongst the noise at times, trying to pick out the finer than five details. So at times I really need to change my internal dialogue, and that's one thing that this particular book really, really helped me. I think Mark Leonard has written this really nice piece of literature, and
Yeah.
it quite summarizes well where you need to assess yourself, where you are, how far you need to go. They nicely summarize 20 points there.
Yep.
What
Agree.
about you?
Yeah, so agreed that he has put it in a very simplistic, very sort of concise, and very easily kind of understandable way. It's not something very complicated, and he's really bulleted those points, to our better understanding. So, I mean, I was going through it, and I was quite, kind of happy that, quite a few of those things I am practicing, and there are a few things I'm struggling with. So I just talk about the ones that I do practice. I mean, I really truly believe in the power of visualization, which she has brought up, and this is what Jeff Heggie in our last show also brought up. And I think a lot of successful people, and obviously I learned about it after I started reading about successful people and listening to success coaches, and this what is this like science behind visualization. And when I have incorporated that in my life, which is to actually visualize, what you want, it has great power in it. And you also not only just derive power from it, it kind of makes you feel like you're in control, right? Now, of course, there are things in life that are not in your control. I mean, and there are things in your life that are in your control. And there's a stoicism has its philosophy that don't worry about things that are not in your control. Focus on things that are in your control. I think that philosophy and this idea to me also
Yeah.
uh, puts clarity in my in my thinking process, because when I'm stressed out, and obviously we all get stressed out, and life is about challenges, and like Buddha says that life is suffering. Life is actually suffering. Life is not a walk in the garden, and so hence then there is this quest for happiness. You know, you find the world asking what is happiness, because there's just so much suffering. But once you realize that you really need to focus on the things that are in your control, because most things in our life are out of our control. If you stop stressing on things that are not in your control, so like you mentioned, like toxic people, other people's behavior, things like those are not in your control. But what is in your control is your reaction towards that. Then you mentioned internal dialogue. I mean, I'm a big believer of kind of just internally conversing and having that internal conversation, and telling yourself that, look, I mean, this other person is harming my peace of mind, or is toxic, or is negative, or she or he said something. But am I really going to let it affect the rest of my day, or am I going to let it affect like my now my further relationships, when I go back home with my kids, with my friends, like, am I just going to get hung up on it, or am I going to move past it? Like, what importance does this have? So having that constant internal dialogue, and that comes to your life as well. Like when you're planning, it's important that you talk to yourself in a manner where you empower your own self, right? It's all about empowering your own self. It doesn't matter what the world is doing, as long as you empower yourself. And really, the only person who can really empower yourself is you first. And that's what Eckhart Tolle talks about in his book, The Power of Now. Like, live in the now and
Exactly.
empower yourself. That conversation you have with yourself is a very important one. People are not in your control. So yeah, that is something I really believe in: visualization and showing up in life. Again, I think this is something amazing you talked about, because again, we obviously, as human beings, we're very sensitive and we're very potent to getting affected by what's happening around us, and it's not easy. This is a discipline, like Misha was saying. Like, these are disciplines you need to inculcate, and you learn from experiences. Like developing resilience,
Yeah,
developing
these are
an
really hard.
yeah,
Hmm.
developing an attitude
It's
to
tough.
not. There's a very good book. It's worded a bit, inappropriately, but it's called "How to Dash Yourself, Undash Yourself," and it's actually a very good book. So I recommend people read it. And that book, the author has talked about, like, you know, it doesn't matter what's happening in your external environment. What matters is what's happening in your mind. So, we get very
Hmm.
easily kind of calmed down. You go to work, something nasty happened, your boss said something, awful, or you didn't get that, increment or that bonus, or your spouse, and your entire day, you suffer, suffer, suffer. But then you can decide that I am
Yeah,
not going
it's
to.
and it's ruined just because of that event. So
Yes.
yeah,
And then you
That's
kind of
true.
take
so
everything nice that may be
this
happening around you for
power of
granted, right? I mean, there could be good things around you, you're not even noticing because you're so stuck in that loop of negativity. So,
mm,
showing up in life means that you show up in every moment, you know, good and bad. And for me, it's important that you step out of the bad moment. It's so important that you just walk out of that bad moment and enter the good moment. And I think for happiness, it's very important that you, I mean, if I may say so here on the social media, but honestly, like toxicity and toxic people, uh, as much as you can just remove that from your life, it will give you a space for more happiness.
Also, sometimes you need to
yes.
identify, are you the toxic person? Are you becoming toxic as well?
Absolutely,
That
because
is
of course,
very important.
Yes,
Self
we need to
awareness.
find the yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
With,
This clarity
with
thing that I
with
talked
clarity.
about, that coming aware of the darker side,
yes,
is that what you need to understand first and mindfully assess that. Okay, quickly coming to the little things that makes us happy. So coming towards Dr. Hafsa, so what makes you happy? What are the little things in life that makes you happy?
The little things in life. These days, I think it has to be my nephew's smile. It just lights up my day. That little kid has to do something like a little peekaboo there. He's 6 months and he does a little peekaboo, and that just puts so much light and life in my entire day, makes my entire week really nice. That receiving a kind word from a friend, a loved one, that really makes my day. Somebody just telling you, I think the most magical moment, and this is something one of my bosses told me. They said, life is not about all happiness. Life is about those little perfect moments that you have. And everything else in between is absolutely neutral. It's like those little perfect moments of happiness are the true happiness that there is, according to him. So when you can be easily understood by someone, in that moment you feel the need to be understood. I feel like that's a very happy moment, and every time I make that connection with somebody, them completely understanding my emotion or me understanding theirs, that really makes me very happy. And yeah, eating something really nice these
yeah,
days makes me very happy too.
yeah, of course, absolutely.
What
Michelle,
what
what
about
about you?
you?
What are the little things in life that make you happy?
Okay, the little thing that makes me happy, during this pandemic and lockdown, I have started feeding birds in the morning.
Oh,
So
sweet.
every morning after Fajr and after doing the yoga, I go upstairs to the rooftop and I feed the birds. And within moments, are like so many crows, like, and pigeons and bird, like little chidiyas, and then eagles are also fond of me now. They come the minute I go, and then I feed them. And yesterday I fed them McDonald's burger and
Oh
cupcakes,
my God.
and they were the
Like,
happiest. My entire roof, my entire rooftop was filled up with black crows and eagles and little little birds.
A happy
And
meal there is.
even the koel thing also comes. They, yeah,
yes.
I was like feeding them happy meal and cupcakes, and they were so happy. And the day when I feed them something other than some plain foods, so they're not happy. So they have found happiness, and I found my
Oh
happiness.
my
A
God.
little
They're
thing
not,
that makes me happy.
they're,
So
they're used to now the specials, huh?
The
Oh,
fast food birds.
sweet. That is
yes, yeah,
so, and you
yes.
know how kind that is. That's so compassionate and kind of you to like feed birds. That's
Yes.
beautiful.
And it's kind of a meditation for me. So it really calms me down. So for like 10 minutes, I just watch them, and it's like the world is like it's a heaven for me. So I created that space for me, my little happiness every morning, every little boost of morning. So feeding them and then just giving them is just like a daily dose of boost. So this makes me really happy.
Such
That
is
is
morning
so
happiness.
sweet. That is so incredible. And that is so kind and compassionate, I must say. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
thinking about birds and animals, and that's so sweet. Well, what makes me
Okay.
happy
So what
Yeah,
is,
about
moving
you,
on.
Dr. Sana?
yeah. Before you guys ask me, I'm all ready to talk about it. So, what makes me the happiest? My most happiest moments are like with my kids, and anything that brings a smile to their face. And I think like just sitting with them and genuinely like laughing and becoming like childish and sharing their jokes. I mean, those are the happiest moments for me. And when you were talking about eating something nice, also like I mean, of course, I love food and I love eating, and eating good food makes me happy. But I what really makes me happy when my kids enjoy their food. As a
Oh,
mother, I'm sure a lot of mothers who are watching will relate to this. And just the little thing like I mean, for me, like anything that brings a smile to my children's face makes me so happy. But having said that, I want to bring up again self love. There are things that I feel that I do for myself that bring happiness to me. And when I ignore myself or in my existence, and as a mother, it's very hard to kind of balance your own space and when you have kids, because you're constantly kind of catering to other people's needs. But looking after yourself, empowering, like how I was talking about earlier. Like there is value and there is power in gaining external validation, right? You want somebody to give you a compliment. You need somebody to say something nice to you. Of course, human connection is very important. But I
yeah.
think the greatest compliment, I mean, the best compliment is the one that you give yourself. So
Yes.
I think like,
Agreed.
it's very important to me that I started doing that, and I really believe, and it's very hard to do it, but I do try and practice that I want to disconnect from external validation, from what
Yes.
people give me credit and not give me credit for. I want to give myself credit for, and I think the real judge of whether you're doing well or not is inside of you, right?
Yes.
Like Misha was
Yes.
Those,
talking about the dark
those days when you can pick
side.
yourself up and be your own friend are the best
Yes.
days, right?
Yeah,
this
yeah.
this is the power that you need to harness with constant practice,
You
so
need
it
to
doesn't
harness
come.
it with, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a discipline. It's literally like martial arts, I would say. As
Yes.
tough as that.
uh
If you do harness it, you really become like a martial.
yes,
You need
Dr.
to, you need
Sana,
to force
Yeah.
it.
here's this
I
question.
guess.
I want you to answer this. So do you think setting boundaries can also improve the state of happiness?
Absolutely. And this is what I said when we talked about, what happiness means to me. That you set your own boundaries. Like you have, for me, I think we are unhappiest when we're conforming to the world's boundaries of what we should be and what we should do, how we should live, and we are happiest when we make our own boundaries. And it's so important to make boundaries because it it sets you up in a very healthy space in your life, relationships, friendships, work, professional life, everything. So boundaries, creating boundaries is key to happiness. It is.
Oh,
Absolutely, I completely. Every time you set a boundary for yourself is when you validate yourself first. Because at times people forget that you exist for yourself as well, and you only exist to serve them. The minute you put a boundary out there, they will notice you. You will be a person of your own, and that's a very important moment in your life.
yes, Dr. Hafsat, a similar question was asked. Can you
Oh,
guys
sorry.
can
If
you
you
guys give few tips on how to be consistent to the many distractions and the pace of life? How can you stay focused?
This is a very, very good question. And
yeah.
here's the little answer to this. There are times that you might not have 100% consistent. And that's part of your consistency too. Let's say, for example, you're deciding to work on a certain project or there's a habit you're building. There will naturally be 1 to 2 days where you're not up for it when you and at that time you need to show up for yourself and make a little peaceful agreement with yourself that I'm not feeling up for this. I'm going to listen to my inner voice and I'm going to take it okay for today, but then I'm going to get back on it tomorrow. So the idea that I'm going to get back to it and getting back to it, that is consistency. Even if you let go, what mistake that at times people make is that they just let go of something when they fail once, or they stop doing something. Let's say you decided to do yoga for a straight 1 month, and amongst those many days you left out 2 days. You gave it up altogether because you missed out 2 days. That's okay. Even if you missed out 2 days, you get back to it on the third day. And once you get the hang of it, it'll become a habit. It'll be innate to you. There'll be days you might not want to do yoga, and that's still okay. So part of being consistent is understanding that there's a path you're constantly going to be towards, but it's not necessary that what you're putting among in that particular path for yourself is something you'll get to see every day. So it's all about being kind to yourself. It's about understanding what you need at the very moment, resonating with your inner voice, and getting back to something. I think that is what consistency is. What would you say, Dr. Sana and Misha? Would you like to add something to that?
No, I think you put it quite accurately. I mean, one thing that I could add to that is, consistency comes from first of all building a habit, right? And it goes back to mindset. It really goes back to it, and it goes back to deciding that, you see, consistency to me again is a discipline. It's not just something that you can just say, okay, I'm going to be consistent with it, and then you just evolve into consistency. Consistency is something you have to practice. It's literally like you want to get good at a certain sport. So you have to show up every day. And yes, of course, you have to be compassionate and kind. And there are bad days when you can't do it. But the more you give it, the better you get at it, and then you develop this pattern. And I am a big believer of the mind-body connection. So if your body is used to, like for example, I can talk about from point of exercise. When you're exercising, and once you develop that consistency, even on your bad days, your body asks for it, your mind asks for it, and then you develop that psycho emotional physical sort of mechanism that takes you back to that place. So consistency really has to be built, and yeah, it is a discipline. It has to be created, it has to be worked on. Anything that gives adds value in life is, you have to work at it. It's hard work. Misha.
Yes, I think you pretty much summed up everything. So let's just get back to this question. This is the last question, and we'll be signing off from then. Onwards, then, how do you get over a certain amount of guilt you feel when you set boundaries?
And push back people you care about.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that these are excellent questions.
These
Um,
are very mindful questions
these
that
are very, very profoundly, mindful questions. I mean, I have done that in my life, so I can say that yes, what this question says. It's
mm,
about the consequence of making
mm,
boundaries, because when you make boundaries, there's certain people or certain things that you push out of your life,
mm,
and then there comes that
mm,
guilt because you're conditioned to having them as part of it. But it's something that you have to kind of, it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. And when you have that healthy boundary, and when you realize how well it's worked for you, that X amount of guilt doesn't feel so bad. But it's a great question. And again, it's something that you can only do if you realize that how important boundaries are for your well-being slash happiness.
okay, okay. So with that, we're going to sign off.
Yes.
As and thank you so much, everyone. Uh, so have a great weekend, and
Have a
we'll
great
see you
weekend.
all next week with some amazing content.
Yes.
So till then, stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay happy.